Hi, how is everybody doing? We are back for a weekly recap. Welcome back, Ben. It's been a while, so there will be some culture, or at least it will sound like it. Because, dude, you can say any fucking thing, and it just sounds super cultured. You know, like just because the accent, you can just say anything. It sounds super cultured.
I'm flying out to Texas at the start of October.
Are you really?
For Vid Summit. Yeah, Baz and I will be out in Texas for Vid Summit, in Dallas. And so that will be interesting because I think Texas is one of the parts of the states where this, like New York, LA, this accent kind of is reasonably common. A lot of Brits traveling through there, but I don't think the Brits go to the south. They certainly don't go anywhere near the border.
There's a lot of, I mean, it's more common, but that's because a lot of people fake it too. Like in New York and PA and stuff like that. Like they fake that. In the big cities, because they want to sound more cultured. Like not down here in the dirty. Like in the dirty South, we don't give a fuck about that shit. So we thought we'd do some catch up and hi to everybody in the chat. I just thought we would shoot the shit for an hour and a half or an hour and a half or so. Let everybody know. By the way, but since we're on my channel, I just got to let everybody know you can still get Alkemi. We're going to be able to keep it in stock. I believe we're never going to run out of stock. That was a huge problem when we first started Nomorbidity, where we would actually run out. We would just get sold out. But I do believe we're going to be able to stay in stock now. Just the guys in Ambrosia Collective have done an amazing job. So I do want to. I'll share the links where you can get Alkemi and Nomorbidity at the Ambrosia Collective. You can also get Alkemi at Tiger Fitness, and you can also get the Holy Trinity Weight Loss Bundle. That's Ember, Alkemi, and Nomorbidity together. It just is amazing. I've been on it for weeks now. I've been on Nomorbidity and Alkemi for Nomorbidity for 2 years, Alkemi for a year, but it is just amazing. So no hunger, no sugar cravings, no nothing like that. If you are in Europe, as Ben is, you can get it from Tiger Fitness. They'll ship out there if you have trouble, or some places in Canada have trouble too. But besides that, I hope everybody's having a good week, and it has been a crazy couple of fucking weeks. First of all, are you guys gearing up for COVID 2023 over there?
We've been hearing murmurings about it. For me, it's when the elders of my family start talking about it, when they start going like, oh, I've heard that there's a really virulent strain, there's a new strain. And then, but it's the script is just being recycled. The script is the whole thing of like, oh, they thought it was only in 3 countries. Turns out it's in 47. I'm making these numbers up, everybody, because it doesn't matter.
Yep.
It's just like, oh, the whole thing of like, that's exactly what we had in 2020. Oh, they thought it was only in Wuhan. Now it's in Italy. Now it's in North America now. And it's just, oh man, it's like, you and I have definitely talked about this before. I still cannot wrap my head around the people who simultaneously think that the vaccine is the second coming of Jesus Christ and that they are now in mortal danger because of this new variant. That both cannot be true.
Well, the funny thing is, something about these therapies is that they do kill off T cells. Like, and for those of you that don't know, there's like multiple different layers of immunity. There's antibodies, there's blah, 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 but there's things called T cell immunity. T cell immunity is when like you have had a cold in your life. So your body has some resistance to it, some immunity to it, because it resembles that past cold. And coronavirus 19 had like 80% in common with the regular common cold because it's a fucking cold. But the jab wipes it out. So like when they were telling people to well, if you just got COVID, now you got to get now's the time to get your booster. Like, but if you already got it, why are you getting a booster? Like type shit. These new jabs, Pfizer and Moderna, both shockingly have come up with a new jab, and it is. I want us to play a clip from. Give me a second. I got to pull up the clip of Governor Hochul from whatchamacallit, from New York, talking about this. So I wanted to just play it here real quick because it's insane. Give me 1 second.
No worries.
And then we're going to talk about the actual variant, like the actual jab.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and this is, here we go. Give me 1 second. Okay, so just so everybody know that this is the MFing COO. This is my Twitter, and I basically said if you get injected with a new vaccine tested on a few rodents from historically corrupt companies and historically corrupt industry who have full liability protection from a cold, you're stupid. If you inject your children, you're evil. Because where do you hear this shit, right? And by the way, that's what I was going to talk about here in a second. I just got ahead of myself. They did no human testing on this. They tested it on like 8 rodents. And then this lady is willing, this lady who's the governor of New York is willing to make this statement based off of rodent testing. Listen to this crazy fucking psychopathic woman.
This news is coming at a perfect time. My team and I just got off a call with the FDA confirming that the COVID vaccine is on its way to New York. Some doses shipped last night. We expect many more later this week. The updated vaccine guards against the newer COVID strains because it was built off the Omicron XXB 1.5 variant. That's what we're calling it now. It matches the new variants that are now dominant. So it's really a customized vaccine. It's offered by Pfizer and Moderna. In this case, they literally recommended.
Have you guys noticed how Pfizer and Moderna, it seems like they're merging into one big mega fucking craziness? Yeah. You know? And Baz just joined us. What's up, Baz? We are talking about the new jab, and this is Governor Hochul from Hochul, something like that. Hochul from New York. Some fucking crazy hoe. Some crazy hoe.
Well, look, have you not just heard just then the blasé way she said the variant like you or I would say it. Yeah. The XX115B. Yeah. Like she can't even. She needs to go back to acting classes. She can't even put on the face of somebody who cares. Like, so wheel out Jimmy Fallon if you need a bit of theatrics.
Wait do you hear who she recommends it to? Hang on a second.
That everyone 6 months and older should get a shot. You only need
6 months and older.
More double doses. And again, they'll be starting here in New York on Friday. Doctor's office, pharmacies.
6 months year and older. She's recommending everybody 6 months and older get this fucking thing. You're a fucking sociopath, lady. Like people, like I am at less risk. Me, I'm 52 years old, but since I'm in good physical health, I have a good waist to height ratio. My resting heart rate's excellent. I have more of a chance of getting struck by fucking lightning than dying from this.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, and that's like pretty true. The average 52-year-old, even though we're sickly as fuck in America, is at more danger of sunstroke, of dying from sunstroke than dying of COVID.
That's true.
I mean, it's fucking insanity to be recommending this. And the younger you get, the less fucking dangerous this shit is. And it's always been that way. Yeah. To recommend babies get this shit, you're an evil ass fucking person. Like, I mean, that's evil. I'm sorry, it's evil. I can't even describe in any other way how, like, any other word beside it. I am an atheist, but in the last 3 years, right. I can tell you evil exists. Like, I mean, like, I don't need to believe in the devil if they believe in the devil type thing. Like, she's fucking evil. Yeah. I mean, like, this is crazy. 6 months old and up. There is no way you can't argue that it's without risk. All vaccines have risk. They openly admit that. They're almost at no risk from COVID. And it doesn't stop the transmission. I heard somebody recently tell me, well, it's so they don't get myocarditis from COVID. Motherfuckers, it doesn't stop you from getting COVID.
Myocarditis. Yeah.
And it gives you myocarditis. It's so, like, people are so lost with this. Listen to the rest of this crazy. Listen to this crazy hoe.
Healthcare providers.
I love how I'm just calling a governor of the United States a hoe, but she's a hoe, you know, like
First Amendment, baby.
Ludicrous.
And what I want to talk about is what's different about this vaccine and why should people get it? A couple of points. First of all, it is literally a new vaccine.
So it's a new vaccine. She's stating it's a new vaccine. And if you look, it's a new vaccine that was safety tested on like 8 mice. So if it's a new vaccine, shouldn't there not? First of all, it's a new vaccine. Doesn't it need a new emergency use authorization? Doesn't it like? Are we just like fucking like the FDA is just like got a rubber stamp right now for these motherfuckers?
I mean, who are the 8 mice? Who are the 8 mice? We don't know. I mean, they could be really.
They all could have died for all we know. Like all 8 mice could have just fucking keeled over.
But it's also like bearing in mind, I was suspicious enough when it was conveniently a year and like 5 pharmaceutical companies all had a vaccine within like a week of each other. Mm-hmm. Now it's the new variant has just dropped, shall we say? Yeah. And it's now dropped. within days. Oh, also, by the way, guys, we have a whole new vaccine. Don't read anything into that. Don't read anything into that. There's nothing suspicious. There's no coincidences here. We just got to work really, really fast.
Yeah. You got to be stupid at this point. Like, I mean, like to buy this shit. I'm sorry. And if I'm offending anybody that's buying this shit, you're fucking stupid. I mean, like, it's so crazy, you know? Like,
booster shot. It is not an enhancer.
It is not an enhancer. It's not a booster.
Vaccine designed to attack the new variants.
So
a booster is a vaccine you get the same one over and over and over just to build up your resiliency. This is a new vaccine built specifically to match these circulating strains. So it doesn't matter if you've already been vaccinated. Take no comfort in that. Thank you for
take no comfort in being already vaccinated.
Getting vaccinated in the past, but that is not protecting you today. You need to know that. You don't have the immunity built up over time. So as the virus evolves, this is where our scientists and researchers and companies have to get ahead of it. The virus evolves, so must our response.
So again, notice how natural immunity is not even mentioned. Notice how, like, if you've already had this, a kind of COVID, you ought to be okay. And notice how, like, they're acting like it's a death sentence. You got to get this shot. It's fucking insane. These people are crazy. They're sociopaths.
She's a lawyer, isn't she?
Here's the simple message, New Yorkers: get the vaccine. That is the best way by far to protect yourself and those around you.
Yeah, not unfattening yourself because we're living a fat as fuck nation. That's no word about that. The best way to protect yourself from a cold is to take an experimental gene therapy tested on 8 mice by people who have liability protection. Sure.
I mean, I mean, look, lawyers. I'm pretty sure she's a lawyer. I'd probably Google it. Let me Google it. I'm positive she's a lawyer. Let's see. Kathy Hochul. Yeah, she's a lawyer. Mm-hmm. Lawyers don't know. They're lawyers. I mean, if you've ever been in a patent case, when it comes to anything that's related to the sciences, it's a shit show. They don't know what they're talking about. They don't. I mean, even the judges don't know. Like, they'll just take anything. They'll say anything. I know this because of just working in tech. You'll just watch people just accept whatever. You can write it. You can say whatever. So. Yeah.
It really, like, if I'd taken a jab and 5 boosters, I'd feel like an idiot at this point. Yeah. Like, because the idea, I've just been told by a public official, like, oh no, that doesn't mean anything now. It's like, but hang on, but you, it's at what point, like, these people, and I know there are some out there, but they just think that people live in like 1 hour increments, the one they're in and the one they just left. They don't seem to think that people have any living memory.
I mean, a lot of,
and like, go on.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I was just looking at Julie in the chat saying, "Oh, I do feel like an idiot." That breaks my heart. That absolutely breaks my heart, because on the face of it, you didn't do anything you shouldn't have done.
No,
you believed people where. Why shouldn't you? Why shouldn't you believe people who purport to have your best interests at heart? And this is why the likes of us three get, and the word is enraged by it, is because it's like, no, you shouldn't need to live with as much skepticism as us three live with. Yeah. That shouldn't be the standard. You should have the freedom to just live day to day, progress your life, improve your situation, prosper, all those things. But it's like, but these people, it's like, Julie, this is good because you will never, ever make that mistake again.
The big thing is,
welcome to the club.
Right. The big thing is people that have got, like, the people that are like bought in. The people, like, not the people, like, and I see a lot of people, I got it for my job. Not you folks, but the people that are bought in that got the 5 boosters, because your job didn't make you get 5 boosters. Okay.
Right.
Your job made you get the vaccine. It didn't make you get 5 boosters. These people that got 5 boosters, they're so far so far committed. They just can't go back. It's like the same thing with like and we'll listen to the rest of what she has to say in a second, but I'll get to this. It's like the people that have given their children puberty blockers and cut off prepubescent teen girls' boobs, right? Like they're bought in. Like they're not gonna all of a sudden say, "Oh, we were wrong," because then they have to admit that they mangled their child. That they're not. They're so bought into that mind frame that they can't go back on it. They can't possibly say that like they did wrong, because if they do, then they admit serious harm, like either to themselves or to other people. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that's the thing. Like that's why I think that there's so many people that are still so bought in. And to Julie and everybody else too, like I understand you got, like a lot of you guys got it for your job, and to a great degree in 2020, and like in 2020, I think in July when they first started talking about it, I said, and Trump was president, I don't give a fuck, but I said very clearly, I was like, there's no fucking way I'm getting this. It's less deadly to me than a fucking seasonal flu, and it's produced in way too short a time. I'll hang out for a couple of years and see how yins do. You know what I mean? Like, because I'm not fucking doing it. Like, I mean, like, and I'm not. But I'm lucky because I work for myself and everything like that. However, to my point, they were very much, to a great degree, they were much censoring and literally hiding, like a lot of us, what we were saying. Like, hey, aren't you worried about the dangers of this? Like, I knew that. Like, you can check my Twitter. There's old videos of me being like, can anybody explain to me why I should take something for the good of everybody when it doesn't stop transmission and it doesn't stop infection? Like, they knew that it didn't stop transmission and infection. They never like, only people like Biden and them claimed it did, you know, but they never, ever, like I, from the very beginning, if you read the data, they weren't talking about it stopping transmission or infection. So why should I get it? Why should I be forced to get it when I can still get it and transmit it? Like, it's fucking crazy, right? You know, like, I mean, it's insane. Like, how about you stay the fuck in if you're afraid of me, you know? But yeah, I mean, so for a lot of you, I feel for you guys, but you know, next time you'll know, like I would say, like, you know, a lot of you that got it for your job, if they start pushing this again, that you have to get it for your job. I think it's like, if we all would have stood up all at once, if everybody would have said, fuck that, I'm not getting something to keep a job. If everybody would have said that, they would have had to bow to it. But instead, they fucking were like, they had at the time too, they made sure that everybody had lockdowns, really, where we were locked down for a little while. So the economy was fucked around the world. So people were already through their savings. People were already fucking like desperate to fucking keep a job that they had and stuff like that, right? So people were already like bent over the fucking barrel. Yeah, they were already scared, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting too. Like the thing that I'll always remember about that time period is that there was a healthy proportion of Black Americans who refused to get the vaccine, and they never really talked about that. That was really funny. But yeah, there's a healthy skepticism, I think, among people.
Tuskegee, I mean,
there's a history.
Yeah, it was the idea that hang on a minute, Black people are suspicious of the government mandating them to do something. I wonder why. There's no historical precedent for that. There's no historical precedent for that going really badly wrong.
But what I love about that is it's like, okay, well, if you bring that up, then you might say, even as a non-Black person, wait a minute, maybe I should be skeptical of the government. Right. Yeah. And that's really, I think, what you're trying to prevent is just any idea. Like, don't get any ideas. Okay, we'll let them do whatever. We need their vote. I get for the next election, but you lot, you don't get any ideas. Do what we say.
And I mean, COVID and the vaccine had like $1 trillion marketing campaign. They paid so much out in money to get people vaccinated. That's why that worried me more than anything. Like, why do you motherfuckers want this in my arm so bad? Like, why do you want it in me so bad? Like, because like you're spending a lot of money to fucking make sure everybody gets this, no matter what, and all sorts of shit. Let's
We're smart.
Yeah, let's do it.
We're resilient. We protect each other. We've done this since March of 2020. No reason to stop now.
No reason to stop now.
Months is the age. Sounds young.
6 months is the age. She's about to go through like 6 months is the age. It sounds young. Listen to this shit.
It sounds young.
6 months is the age. Sounds young, but children get shots from birth. They can do it. I encourage everyone, don't let your baby be one that is in a cold, dark, scary place, unknown to them, scary for your child. Think about them and get them vaccinated. So they can't protect themselves. They have no choice. They're counting on their parents to do the right thing. If you have underlying conditions, you really, truly have to do this because you are also in a point of vulnerability. So people don't realize this, but 70% of adults have at least one underlying condition, regardless of your age. 70%.
So we're already back to this.
Why don't we address the condion then?
We're already back to that. That was the premise of lockdowns in the first place. We've got so many people that are sickly, but none of these fucking people, none of these people tried to unfatten the fucking population. I mean, this is why all this shit is so very fucking frustrating for me, because I said at the very beginning of this, like, unfatten yourselves, motherfuckers. It's one of the fucking, it puts you at high risk of every fucking thing. Like, it puts you at the risk of every cold, every virus. People, like the younger people that die from the flu every year are the fat people. I mean, like, people need to grasp this. It's unhealthy for you. But notice how she also words it to underlying conditions. But 70% of people.
What is it?
So 70% of people. So 7 out of 10 people are going to die if they don't get this. They're starting this bullshit all over again. Approved by the FDA means nothing. Nothing to me anymore. Did you guys see this week that the FDA took an ingredient off the shelf that's been approved for 50 fucking years?
Aspartame?
No, not aspartame. But they took the ingredient off the shelf. It was for Sudafed. It was like for a variety of Sudafed and stuff like that, right?
Oh, Jesus. Okay.
Like, it's one of the ingredients in a type of Benadryl, not the main ingredient. It's phenyl something, right? But they took it off. It's for like the flu and congestion, Sudafed, and something special for like some one of the variants of Benadryl. They took this off the market. It was approved in the 1970s by the FDA. They took it off the market for, and I quote, "It does nothing." People, like, it's generated
that's like having asexuals at Pride. That honestly, that is what that reminds me of. That's like when in the name of nothing.
In the name of nothing, it's $1.6 billion a year that people have been spending on these medications. 1.6 billion a year, and it, like, in clinical studies, they said it doesn't do anything different than placebo. So the FDA has had a drug approved for 50 fucking years. It does nothing. And now they're telling you it's perfectly safe to go get this jab that's been tested on 8 mice. You got to be stupid. I mean, don't do it. People, don't do it. It's dangerous. I'm telling you, don't do it.
I mean, look, at this point, would you consider the APA, like, large organizations now just, I don't know what to think anymore. I have to, like, it's like, unless I'm a full-time researcher, and Ben knows, I spend a large time consuming news. But if you're like normal and are happy and have a family, you're not going to do that. And I mean, it just reminds me of how, was it the American Psychological Association, even though they're not a government association, what was it, 50, 60 years ago, said being gay was a pathology, and now masculinity is a pathology. It's the same sort of thing, same sort of strange inconsistency. Go on.
Why is it that we know Robert Malone by name, but we don't know any of these scientists that woman mentioned in that speech? So she says that all our scientists and researchers who get to remain behind this veil of, this veil of anonymity, but we know Robert Malone by name. We know all the dissidents by name. Like, when I'm walking around, it's weirdly how symbolic the masks are when it comes to that. Because like, when I'm walking around my local town, exclusively the masks are being worn by the people I give a wide berth to anyway. I now just have a strong visual cue as to why I should do that. Like, because they're always very overweight, the people wearing masks, and just basic mobility is a struggle for them. And I'm just sitting there going, like, I can see why you would be fearful of a respiratory disease, but why aren't you if you're that fearful, why aren't you taking more drastic steps than a piece of cloth over your nose and mouth?
Right. No. Here's the thing. If you are still morbidly obese, it's been almost 4 years that COVID's been in the world. COVID probably entered the United States probably in September or October of 2019. 4 fucking years, right? If you are still morbidly obese now, you did not take it seriously. I don't want to hear fucking shit. Like, because even if you were 400 pounds, if you were 400 pounds overweight, you could not be morbidly obese anymore 4 years later. Like, you weren't that fucking scared. You weren't that fucking scared. I mean, it's insane to me.
I mean, outside of a hospital, I didn't know people were still wearing, because I traveled so much. I didn't no idea people were still wearing masks. Are they still wearing masks in the U.S.?
They're actually pushing for it in a lot of places again already.
Good luck, because I have no idea what to make of that. No one wears masks. If you travel around outside of the U.S., I'm telling you, no one wears masks. No one does. So,
well, we do a lot of stupid shit over here. A lot of stupid shit. Like, did you guys see that one of our, and this is the same time, COVID's on its way back. We need a new jab. Also, one of our fast food franchises over here, Wendy's, is selling junior bacon cheeseburgers for 1 penny for 4 days here coming up to celebrate Burger Day.
Wait, what? What did you say?
Well, we need everybody to take this new. We need everybody to take this new variant. Where this new we need everybody to take the new COVID shot. You know, because it's the worst ever fucking disease ever. Period. Ever. Stop. Period. And this is the safest, most tested, most amazing vaccine ever. Like ever. Yeah. Like, I mean, it's the safest of the safe, safest that shit's ever been. Right. So people need to take it, because, you know, how else are you going to look after your health? And oh, by the way, just in case anybody's wondering, here coming up for National Burger Week, you can
a penny.
Yeah, I didn't know about this. Here I am in bulking season, and these are right there. I could have just. I forget the rice and ground beef and spinach. I should be at Wendy's. I messed up.
But it's like it's this 15 years ago, more recently 10 years ago, would have been on a sketch comedy show.
Yes,
this would have been the plot line of a sketch. It would have been a satire. 100%. It would have been a satire. Like, oh, hey kids, McDonald's has merged with Medicaid, so now pop yourself down to your local medical center and get some fries with your seasonal jab, and that would have been funny. But
and people would be like, ha ha ha, what? That's ridiculous. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah,
it's insane. It's completely insane.
Because that for me was when, like, because again, like, and I Alan, we've spoken about this when you came on. Raisin Bread is like, we were talking about various reasons for sort of being opposed to, as you call it, the jibby jab. And it was like how, and I remember saying on that podcast, it was like, for me, it wasn't that I knew a lot. It was the opposite. I didn't know a lot. And so it was like, I didn't get it because of what I didn't know. It was just like, exactly like you've said, which is when you were out on Twitter, I was just doing it in my private life. No, you need to give me a reason. You need to give me a really good reason. When COVID came in, I was 24. I was 24 working out 5 days a week. So I was just like, and you're telling me that I really need to get this. Why? Oh, so I can go to Ibiza. No, that can wait. I don't need to travel out of the country that bad.
Whenever, you don't have to.
And so, no, but this was why, because everyone got it to travel, and it was just like, I didn't, amongst my peer group, that is, and it was like, no, I didn't get it because I thought I was holier than thou, or because I had some access to some information that told me this is expressly dangerous. It was like, no. My suspicions are rising because I've never needed to do this before. I've never needed to take have a medical procedure, which is what it is. Have a medical procedure to protect other people. That is never why you have a medical procedure. I've had a tonsillectomy. That was for my health. I had my arm repaired when I broke it as a kid. That was for my health. I didn't get that for my mum. I didn't get that for my brother. I got that for me. I wear a seatbelt in the car so that if I crash, I'm safe. There is nothing that you do that you can do to protect other people health-wise. This is not this weird where people think that they're being injected with some kind of friendly isotope that they are going to breathe out into the atmosphere and radiate loveliness onto their fellow man to protect them from illness and disease. It's like, no, this is not. It's not Febreze. It's a vaccine.
Yeah, and the thing is, if again, I'll say this again, if the powers that be really wanted to help people stay healthy, if it was really about like not overloading the healthcare system and everything like that, we wouldn't be selling burgers for a penny. Yeah. We wouldn't be selling burgers for a penny. And
funny.
Hang on a second. Wait till you guys see this.
Bro, I gotta change my bulking.
I thought it was a good idea to put this.
Give me 1 second.
Oh God, what are we in for?
Oh no, I heard about this.
Oh, shut up. Okay, let's go.
It's like I won't give it away.
Who the thought it was a good idea to put this on the menu? Because this drink has 185 grams of sugar.
185 grams of sugar in one drink.
You guys, I'm coming back. I'm coming to the States. I'm gonna bulk there. It seems so much easier.
185 grams.
I had
of
a
sugar.
steak. I had a steak last night that was 225 grams.
Yeah, the whole steak.
Jesus. A whole steak that was 225 grams. And that was what, 185?
Yeah, but Ben, you're a bitch.
185 grams of sugar.
Look,
my God.
This is a drink for men, not for little, girls who eat steak. This is a real man's drink.
Hang on, this guy goes off on this. Hang on a second.
Let's go.
How much is it? It's.
Oh, and by the way, you think anybody's just getting the drink?
No.
I bet you 50.
My God!
I bet you at least 50% of the people are getting the drink and something.
Jesus.
This much. It's 46 teaspoons of sugar. To give you another perspective, the amount of sugar in there is equal to 14 glazed donuts. Plus, there's no pumpkin in here. It's artificial flavors. There's 12 mentions of sugar and high fructose corn syrup in here. There's 930 calories and 194 carbs. 2/3 of us are already type 2 diabetic or pre-diabetic. If America runs on this, we're
hilarious.
But make sure
I need it. I need it.
But make sure you take your jab though. Make sure,
right.
Because the jab's for your health.
Yeah.
Make sure you take it for your health. But on your way, it would not surprise me if they started giving out coupons to Dunkin' Donuts to get one of those motherfuckers when people got the jab. It would not surprise me because they were doing that stupid shit. They were like the fucking all over the place.
It was a burger and fries, wasn't it? That was one of them in one city.
And Krispy Kreme, free Krispy Kreme, New York City was burgers and fries. Fucking insanity.
But why? So why? Okay. So at a legislative level, I get it, right? I understand there are powers that be who do not want you to be healthy. Like I'm convinced of that. There's no economic.
Oh yeah, they want you fat, sick, and dependent.
Right.
Yeah.
Why on a psychological level? Do we let that happen to us? I'm curious what you guys think. Because I don't know. I mean, if it's me, I'm just like at a certain point, you're just like, I don't think I can drink this, man. It hurts. It literally hurts.
Well, shameless plug. We talked about this on our most recent episode of Raisin Bread. We talked a lot about people not living deliberately. And they just sort of they let life happen to them rather than them happening to life. So like they're not sitting there, they're not evaluating how many grams of sugar are in that syrup with some cream on the top. They are just going, oh, that looks nice, and that's as far as the thought process goes. And then it's like, oh, the telly said that I need to go get another jab. Okay, well, I'll book that in. I'll go get another jab. The bit that I don't understand on that is where's the circle of money? Because, and I'm probably overlooking something really obvious, but it's like, because it's free to the consumer. The vaccine is free to the consumer. So
they're going to start charging $120 to $130 for it too in America.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that makes more sense. Because it's like, the idea, I get government contracts, and Pfizer and Moderna, they have these government contracts. So they get rich. I get that. And then eventually the consumer has to pay via taxation because it's government contract, which is the public's money, just delayed. There's just a lag. But it's like, what?
You know what? Yeah. Somebody brought up something interesting. So first off, shout out to
buffering.
Somebody shout out, I think, to Picerla, who said, "Yeah, the drink's going to be advertised as saying, oh, it has 11 grams of protein." That's exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then number two, XX. There is something to this idea of food. I mean, there isn't something to it. There is scientific literature to this. Food affects how you think.
Well, food's addictive.
For years, there's been a back and forth. I know this when it comes to the scientific community, when it comes to how high fructose corn syrup affects brain signaling, right? And I think recently, Alan, you're more on top of these things than I am. We finally come to the conclusion that it does interfere with signaling in the brain. So,
it maps the same way. Sugar maps the same way as cocaine. Like the same portions of your brain light up. We actually just did a live on my channel about this past week, where it's an addictive substance, and they know it, and they know that there's like, have you ever heard of the job food scientist? Have you ever heard of that?
Yeah.
What do you fucking think their job is? Their job is to get people to want to eat the fucking food. So they look for what's called the bliss point.
Okay. They're like it's like the algorithms on Instagram or Facebook.
Yeah. So they're looking for the bliss point, and the bliss point is a combination of sodium, fat, and sugar that cause a person to just like almost not be able to say no to that shit. Like to your point, you were asking like why people would drink this. A tremendous amount of people have very little regard for their physical well-being. And that's just the truth, because they are so used to being coddled and cushioned that, healthcare will take care of me. This will take care of me. Like, I'll be okay. If I get diabetes, I'll just take some medication. I'm fine. Like, they don't really realize, because in society, and this is one of the reasons why I talk so much about this fat acceptance bullshit, we soften the blow of the ramifications of what could possibly happen, because people don't really realize it. That drink should come with like your
Instagram.
Or a referral letter to somebody that might eventually chop your feet off for diabetic poor circulation and shit like that. People look past this shit. That's why this whole fat acceptance, body positivity movement is a death cult, because these people are just like, if you're fat, you need to it's for a huge portion of it. Yes, being fat, like the actual being morbidly obese, is bad for you because you're in a systemic state of inflammation. There's so much wrong. You're pressuring your heart, your lungs, your kidneys, your entire system is under much more pressure. That is bad for you. But also the way that you are eating to get there, which is, I don't know, like I'm an expert on obesity and weight loss. And anybody wants to argue that with me, you can come on live. We can debate. I can make you look silly. Let's go.
Argue.
but I'm an expert on obesity and weight loss. I don't know people that eat whole foods that become morbidly obese.
Right.
Okay? Right. Like, morbid obesity is fueled by ultra processed foods. Ultra processed foods eaten in high quantity over a course of period of time.
Over time, that's the other point. Is it's over time. It's such a long period of abuse.
And it actually affects cognition. It affects reasoning skills. It affects maturity. It affects self-startedness. Mental development, cognition. So these people, I mean, that's why when I say like they're crazy, and I mean I don't mean it to be mean, but like they're crazy. They're not. I mean, it's sad because even though it appears like I'm like I get to, like you hate fat people, I don't hate fat people. I love all people. I want to see people get healthy. I hate people that are.
Wait, can I just say this? I haven't met anyone who has like I know people are going to not believe me. I haven't met anyone who has as much compassion for people who have lost, no control over their weight as you. So I just want people to know that. But anyways, go on. Because
the thing is, like, I have a problem with the people that literally try to like minimize the danger that these people are in. There's nothing worse. There is nothing more evil, nothing meaner than to tell a 300-pound person, "You're fine, you're great. Don't let anybody tell you to change." That's fucking evil. That's fucking evil. You're 300 fucking pounds. You're not like the human, unless you are really fucking tall. You are not meant to be 300 pounds. And that's where we're at in society. But we're so far, like people do not, just what you guys were saying, they don't think about their actual health. They don't think about their actions in relation to their health at all. That's why we have 1,000-calorie drinks, drugs that are approved, drugs that are approved by 8 mice. And people are just like, let me take this jab. And I mean, people don't even question when the FDA like withdraws medications. Like something like 25% of every medication that the FDA approves gets withdrawn. 25%. Why the fuck do they have authority? Why do we even give them ability? Why do they have authority over any fucking body? That is a horrible, like if you can't be sure enough 100%, then you shouldn't say it's safe. You should just tell people the risk. You should tell people the risks and tell people the risks and let them decide for themselves. I'm a big believer is that we as a people should be able to do what the fuck we want. If you do want to hurt yourself and you're fully informed, great. But right now we're not getting fully informed and people are still just hurting themselves. It's crazy.
Right. You know? That's the part that makes me angry. You're not getting fully informed. Or it's the, back in the day, you don't remember this, Ben, because you still have the new cars now. But back in the day, there used to be commercials for cars or just things where they'd say at the end, like, offer something, blah, 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 blah. The guy would talk super fast and offer all these things. I don't know, Alan, you probably remember, and say all this stuff at the end of the commercial. And you'd be like, hold up, hang on, what did you just say? That doesn't sound like it would be good for me, right? Mm-hmm. At least they had the courtesy of doing that. Now, we don't even do that. And we make it, and then when people do investigate, like, I have a friend of mine who's a great comic, has a great joke. He's like, well, you're not a scientist, right? Like, you don't have a Bunsen burner at home. Okay, funny joke, fair counterpoint. My problem is, as soon as you stop people from being able to get that information, now I'm going to look at you sideways. Now I'm going to wonder, why don't you want me to know this? That like and Ben, you get this. You and I are very rebellious. As soon as someone says you can't know why, I go, I want to know why. Or you can't do that, I'm going to do it. That's how I am, and that's not fair.
Also what's so funny about it is like it's with the "you're not a scientist" argument. Is it's like, well, neither are you. All you're doing is concurring. So you're not that's not a counter argument. And again, the other thing is, Baz, like you and I have talked about this a lot, is we live in this weird time where people confuse categorization with a counter argument. So they will just say to you, you're not a scientist. That doesn't actually disprove anything that I've said. All you've done is categorize me. You've identified correctly that I'm not a scientist. Now counter argue. Now give me your counterpoint. Because I talk about this a lot with the realm of people like Matt Walsh, because he always gets leveled at him whataboutism or slippery slope syndrome. Oh, you're just doing whataboutism. That's fine. Maybe he is. Now argue against it, because just identifying it as whataboutism isn't good enough. So it's like if I sit there and when I listen to Robert Malone on Joe Rogan, because that's the access that I have as an ordinary civilian, and I can listen to him talk for 3 hours about the inception of the mRNA vaccines. His like you mentioned it at the top of the show, Alan. Like he said it on Joe Rogan about how he said that this idea of getting boosted every 6 months is really ill-advisable, even if you think the vaccines work, because you have a 6-week period where you're more susceptible to infection because of the decreased T cell count. And then you go like, oh no, but he's but and again, they won't counter argue. All they'll do is categorize him. So they'll go, oh, but he's a denier. And the reason I really hate that is that when you actually discover the root of those phrases, which to people around my age in the audience won't necessarily know, whenever you hear denier, or somebody call you a denier, a lockdown denier, a vaccine denier, whatever, be very, very careful, because that comes from Holocaust denier. They're using the most extreme rhetoric possible. And it's the same with like a climate denier. What exactly are you insinuating? That I'm denying there's weather? That's not what you're insinuating. You're insinuating. I'm not denying that there's a vaccine. I'm not denying that COVID exists. What I'm denying is the narrative. But you need to put me down so extremely and so quickly that you will resort to such extreme rhetoric. Like the other one is sympathizer. That's the other one that gets used. That comes from the same place, Nazi sympathizer. So if you are sympathizing with somebody that the mainstream narrative doesn't approve of, you're now a sympathizer to make you feel guilty and to make you feel small. And the trouble is, it works. It is so pervasive. Like, because I remember in early 2020, I had a trip to Geneva booked to go to the motor show. So this was about when everything was ramping up and everything was starting to get cancelled.
Oh, okay. I was
European, darling.
I know. I grew up in Geneva, except when I was in Geneva, I was in overalls and told that I spoke fluent French. It's a horrific place. Why did you go for a car show? It's like
went for a car show, yeah.
It's like if a Swiss man just like came over a city, like that's like you know, have you like?
I had all my friends at work at the time, because I was going like, yeah, I'm going there at the weekend, and they were all, because I was there going like, what is this thing? I'm 24 years old. I've caught colds in the past. I'm sure I'll be fine. And then and you have all these people around me, probably like 8 to 10 people, berating me for the idea of going, not sympathetically, not going, oh, I really don't think it would be good for you. I think it's very dangerous. It wasn't that. It was, how dare you? How dare you think you can go? Do you understand what danger you're posing to other people? If you come back and you carry this virus, and I'm sitting, it worked. I ended up still going because that's who I am. But like I remember sitting there in that conversation, feeling about that big, feeling an inch tall, going like, God, what evil person must I be? Because I feel you like that, and it really is so effective. Like we're seeing people in the chat and they're pointing it out, and they're absolutely right. Fear is such a strong motivator, because it's how we've, to play a bit of bro evolutionary biology, is how we got here. We got here by avoiding dangers.
Yeah, absolutely. Somebody in the chat said something about like they called us grandma killers, and that was the beginning of 2020 for me. Like, oh, you want elderly people to die? Like here's the thing: I don't want anybody to die, and it's ridiculous. Like, so you're saying I'm trying to murder people? Like we went from I want my freedom to you think I'm like, oh yes, we have a new cold out. I can murder all sorts of fucking elderly people. Oh yeah, like it's so ridiculous, you know. But also, and here's where people lost their shit. This was a heavy death threat week. I said, well, fat people and elderly people are the people that do the dying. Yeah. And they're like, what? And I'm like, fat people and elderly people are the people that do the dying, especially of new colds. Like, because they're fat and elderly. They're not healthy. And so the unhealthy are who do the dying when new colds come out. That's why you should try to stay healthy, right?
Yeah.
And people were like, "Oh my God, that's horrible." Like, listen, like it is the truth. These are the people that do the dying. It's sad to say, but like it's the people that do the dying. You know.
I love the idea, Alan, of you sitting down with your wife for your dinner and her going to you, "How was your day?" and you going, "It was a medium death threat day." Like the fact that you there was
many days.
Like when you said that was a heavy death threat week, Baz, we got some work to do. I want to be able to describe our weeks as a heavy death threat week.
For a while, I was getting them on my old Instagram account, because I had my old Instagram was Alan Roberts EDDF, and that got deleted. I'm on like my 4th Instagram account. The Fat Acceptance Community had one deleted, and then the COVID people had another one deleted, and then I'm on this one. But on that one, people would like send me messages. Like they would send a message like, I'm gonna come take your head and stuff like that. So I'd call them.
Oh, yeah.
so I'd video call them immediately, and then it'd be like they would refuse to call. I'm like, come on, man, let's talk. And they're like, I don't want to talk to you. I'm like, but you want to come cut my head off? We can at least talk.
Yeah. You're gonna have to talk to me if my head is gonna get cut off at some point. You're right. But something was triggering, and I could. Yeah. No,
being honest, I hated Alan at first, but something was triggering in me, and I kept coming back. Alan's awesome. He's brutally honest. We need that. Yeah.
I have so many clients that would say the same thing. Like I really do. I've got tons of clients.
But also, but can we take a minute then to give a shout out to people like Julie and also and her kinfolk, of which there are many, who have bluntly the intellectual balls to change their viewpoint. Because this is like the one that does. I'm pretty unoffendable, but the one that does get me is when somebody will call me closed-minded. It's like no. I have changed. I think what I think because I've listened to other people.
You are irritatingly open-minded. This guy will listen to anyone. We'll be just on the street and a homeless guy will talk to him, and we're stuck here for the next 15 minutes.
Well, it's like let's hear it. But it's what I mean is it's like the idea that it's like no, I'm just. And it's how it comes back to the whole categorization rather than counter argument thing. Is it's just like it's you're being so stubborn. It's like, well, then try harder. Like I am open. I'm open to being convinced. I'm open to being convinced, but I'm not going to just roll over.
That's what I'm saying. Like because I got the you're not a doctor all the time. Like
right.
You're right, but I do know how to fucking read, and I do know I did work in healthcare as an executive for a long fucking time, so I'm fairly fucking qualified. But even if not, the doctors should be able to convince me. They shouldn't just tell me to trust the science. Yeah. To have informed consent, they need to explain to you why it works, why you need it, and what it's going to do in the future. That is actual informed consent. We turned that off in 2020 and 2021 and 2022. We turned informed consent off the very second that they were like, okay, we're going to 15 days to slow to spread, everybody stay in. Because even 15 days of isolation is very unhealthy for people. Like very, 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 like they use it to punish prisoners in fucking prison, in jail. Like it is very unhealthy for you, and to live under that type of stress is unhealthy for you. They should have, like, if you make these decisions, you should be telling the people why. Like the mask thing. This is how I know this is how I know they know it was all bullshit, right? Because as a newsflash, wearing a mask all the time is unhealthy for you. And it always has been. I used to teach a class on how to safely take one on or put one on and take one off. I used to teach that fucking class to my food service directors from OSHA. You are to sanitize your hands, put a sanitized mask on. You are to sanitize your hands again, not touch it till you're ready to sanitize your hands, take it off, replace it in the same pattern, right? Doing this is horrible, but they told everybody to wear masks. And then there was not one PSA, not one public service announcement, not one instructional video on the proper and safe way to put one on, take one off, and procedures you should do. Instead, we've got people literally putting them on like they're in their pocket next to their fucking penis, and then they're putting them on their fucking, they're putting them on their fucking face, like to walk into stores and shit like that. Like, you don't think that that's got some fucking germs on it, motherfucker? Like, I mean, it's so dumb and that's why I was just like, they're not taking it seriously. This is not serious at all. I mean, not at no point in time were they being like actual serious about any of this shit. Like 6 feet away, I was like, fucking viruses travel on aerosolized vapor that can go 30 fucking meters. Anybody like myself, I've helped write disaster policies for whole counties in the United States, right? Like if there is a viral outbreak, that is why a lot of hospitals they're able to close off the hospital, and they have a thermo and infrared HVAC unit that recycles their air and gives them oxygen that kills all the germs. Because if one person on a floor below you has a virus, it can come through the vents and get you because it travels on aerosolized vapor. It is not like 6 feet is a fucking joke. It was like, and then it came out that, it was just arbitrary number that was made up. Like, people got arrested for not social distancing. You know, like all that shit was a fucking illusion. All that shit was an absolute illusion. Social distancing, masks, lockdowns, it's all an illusion. And it drove me crazy that there was no informed consent about it at all.
The mask thing.
We also, sorry, go on, Bez.
I was just going to say the mask thing kind of upsets me a lot too, because like people were like, well, just wear anything. And I'm like, is that how masks work? Because like, I'm not a doctor. Okay. But like, I feel like they don't just wear any sort of mask in surgery. I'm sure there's something unique about them. And then lo and behold, we find out, there's a special sort of mask that you're supposed to wear. And it briefly gets mentioned in media and then nothing for years. Haven't heard it ever since.
Well, it got mentioned like a new iPhone. Like it was just like, oh, the N95. Like, oh yeah, you should wear the N95. Like if you really care, if you're like, it's like walking around with AirPod Maxes on. Like it's just this idea of, oh, get him. He's got an N95. It was symbolism.
Go ahead.
Go on. No, go. You go.
All of Hollywood fell in line. Remember Alyssa Milano? Alyssa Milano's like, wear a mask, and she's wearing a mask she knitted. Like she's wearing like a crocheted mask. Like you stupid hoe. Like I mean, like I'm sorry. Like that is just ridiculous. Like I'm just like, come on now. Like it's so bad.
Oh man.
That's
and
so
I got
moronic.
Injected with this crochet syringe. Yeah, it's just a joke, man. Because an interesting study came out of the UK this past week that I thought I'd share with you guys from Imperial College London. Now, the interesting thing, the reason why it's interesting to come from the reason why it's interesting to come from Imperial College is the study. The last time Imperial College made a nationally significant study was to put us into lockdowns because Imperial deduced that 500,000 Brits would die from COVID. And then the Office of National Statistics in autumn 2022, after a Freedom of Information request, found out that the actual answer was around 17,000. But the Lancet study, as this is being called, has just completely removed the idea of asymptomatic spread. So a sample size of 36 people were deliberately infected with a droplet of SARS-CoV-2, and only 53% of those who were inoculated with a droplet of SARS-CoV-2 even contracted the virus. So they literally had a glob of it put in their nose. I certainly can.
Yeah, that's actually...
And asymptomatic spread has never been a thing. That's the thing.
No.
Like that was another thing too. Like it's never been a thing. Like, oh, you could give it to somebody without knowing. No, you fucking can't really. I mean, like, it's moronic. It's just stupidity.
I like this idea that you brought up, Ben, of the Rob Henderson. What doesn't Rob Henderson have a name for this?
Luxury beliefs.
Luxury beliefs, right? I'm a part of those people. The ones who have money and power, or you perceive to have money and power. I'm part of that group. I'm one of the good guys. It's a wink and a nod, and I find
I guess like the kind of clip notes for that, for anyone who's not familiar, Rob Henderson, fascinating. He's a Cambridge alumnus, psychology graduate, and he coined this term luxury beliefs, where what he's talking about is how it used to be material things was how you set yourself apart if you're in the upper classes. And then how now, because anybody can kind of get a nice pair of shoes, a nice watch, they can lease a BMW, like that's not really what does it anymore. So now what they do is it's this sort of intellectual aristocracy of how crazy can your ideas be, but you can still pass them off because of your privilege. And like he talks about it a lot through the frame of race and relationships, how you'll get a lot of these people at these elite institutions will say things like, oh, marriage is so antiquated, blah, 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 blah. And then they'll get asked, well, what do you see for your life? Oh, yeah, I want to get married and have some kids. And it's like, because also that's the other tenet is that they don't believe what they espouse. They are quite happy to live traditionally, but espouse all these modern talking points. And you're right, Baz, COVID is a great example of that, where it's like, these people don't stop traveling. They don't stop going to their ski chalets in the mountains. No. They don't stop
they're served on by people. They're served on by.
Yeah.
They're served. This is the part that made me really angry. They're
Obama. Yeah.
They're being served on by people who are wearing masks, but they're not wearing masks themselves at a dinner
Spot
table.
on. Like what was it? The Met Gala when when AOC's wearing "Eat the Rich" or whatever it is, and you've got the help behind her all masked
up. Yeah. It's like, okay, with the serfs, we're going to force this upon the serfs to obey, and then I'm going to do whatever I want while still espousing this rhetoric. It's like, I'm not retarded, right? Like I can see, like, but
it's how information, and just as an aside quickly, because I just think it's a good example, is like I've been 10. I went to elementary school where we learned that CO2 is plant food, but now I'm being told that CO2 is going to kill me.
Yeah,
and it's kind of the same thing with this. So, well, I knew, again, because I went to school, that if I didn't have a disease, like the only time you stayed home from school is if you were detectably ill.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, but now it's like no, you can sort of mysteriously pass it along, and nobody really knows how. And but I remember coming into work, right, the day that I saw that, because it was on adverts. In the first stat that really hit the ground in the UK was that 1 in 20 people were going to die from COVID. Like that was this 500,000 thing, right? So it's like 1 in 20 adults could die from this thing. And then I remember seeing on a bus stop on the way into work that 1 in 3 won't even know they have it. I was elated that day. I was so delighted. I was like, guys, panic over. We've gone from 5% are going to die to 33% don't even know they've got it. What put the bunting out, light the cake. Let's have a celebration. Everything's going to be fine.
The hysteria was so weird because stuff like that, and it's something like 80% of people would be asymptomatic at the very beginning. Like they announced that, and I'm like, oh, we're good. Fuck. Most people are just going to get natural immunity, and we're good. But people were freaking, and then all of a sudden, like they started going on cases. I'm like, why the fuck are we counting cases? Like me getting it and an elderly person getting it are two very fucking different things. Like very, very, very different things, right? Yeah. But then they started counting cases and people started freaking out about cases. And then the CDC came out and said, likely there's 10 cases for every one we know about, like 10 cases that haven't been tested for every one we know about. And people lost their motherfucking minds.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that is good news, you dumb fucks. Like, I mean, like people, like, do you realize how less deadly that makes it 10 times less deadly? You know, like, I mean, that is good. I
shouldn't laugh, but it's so true. It's so true.
That makes it less deadly. It's literally fucking basic goddamn math. When the denominator is bigger, it's so fucking dumb. And, it drove me crazy. Like that, these people were just like, oh my God, 10 times the people have had it. Yes, that means, but the deaths are even, and we knew the deaths were inflated and everything like that. I was like, but if you have that the one number didn't change, just the number of people you thought it was from is 10 times bigger. That means this number is in relation to it is 10 times less. You know, like, and people couldn't do the math. They were too terrified in their head to do the math. Same thing you're saying, like. It's the same thing like you were saying. It's like they can't seem to get there about like the asymptomatic spread thing, but you could have it. I hope at one point in time on fucking Twitter, I was like, I hope I get COVID soon. Like, I don't think I've had it, but I hope I get it. I just want to get my natural immunity so I can get over with this shit. You know?
Right.
You know, like, and people are like, oh my God, well, like you're risking your life. I'm like, it's a cold. Like, I mean, and here's the thing, as a newsflash, and I say this often, and because if there's people that watch this that hate me and don't understand, you're gonna get it.
Yeah,
it's a fucking it's an endemic upper respiratory virus.
Yeah,
you're gonna get it. You probably won't. You may have already got it and not even realized you got it, but you're gonna get it. Nobody's not gonna get COVID. That's like saying you're never gonna have a cold. You're never gonna have the flu. I don't think there's anybody that's never had it. Like you're gonna get it. It's so ridiculous. So ridiculous.
And honestly, I would like to see you get COVID, not because I want any harm, but like good luck to COVID.
I had it. I've never been tested. But I've never been tested. But my son and his girlfriend both had it, and then Crystal was sick for like literally like 4 hours. Like she's so fucking healthy. She was like, oh, I'm good. You know, like, and like, I coughed for a day and had low energy the second day. Like I coughed for a day, had low energy the second day. And by day 3, I had like one of the best workouts I'd had in like fucking years. You know what I mean? Like it was nothing, you know?
When I got
don't get me wrong. Go on. To anybody that's lost somebody to this, I'm sorry, but as a newsflash, I've lost friends to the flu in the past before too. You know, like young, healthy people, like, you know, anomalies happen and people pass away. It's sad, but people die. It's like a fucking thing about nature. Like you were born, and then at some point in time, you are going to die. You know. Yeah.
But it's like, but it's also that thing about it. Really comes back to that point, and this is maybe a little bit sort of whimsical, but it's like it really comes to that point of, for God's sake, live like you mean it. If all your life is built around is sitting in your room for fear of death, swing from the light fitting now, because there's what are you living for? Like why aren't you I'm sorry.
No, it's true.
Sorry.
No, it's right.
But it's just, just like it's like you shouldn't just be resting on your laurels, waiting for something, and then because all you're doing then is you're not only are you waiting for a threat, you're then petrified because you're expecting somebody else to come along and do something about it for you. Like when you have agency, like when you live with agency and you get up and you improve yourself, and it's like because I love Joey Swole videos. I'm sure you guys have seen these, right?
Yeah.
And they're just great. And it's like, and what does he show?
Like
he
shows swole guy. All right, I think that's it.
We're here all day, guys.
Yeah.
But it's like but it's the way how he almost exclusively, apart from when he's laying into people because they're getting annoyed at somebody walking in front of their smartphone filming themselves at the gym, it's usually people who are out of shape, struggling on a machine, and somebody comes over to help. And it's just like that's it. That's living with agency, and you will be rewarded. Like it is implicit. No one in the gym has ever looked over at somebody out of shape and gone, God, have you seen Big Boy over there? They've not done that. If they see them struggling with a machine, it's let me help you with that. It is if you need a spot, I'm right here. It's so
or help with form.
Positive.
Yeah. I mean, I think the one time, and this is a mistake I shouldn't have done. Don't listen to comedy albums in the gym. It sends the wrong message to people. But other than that, it's mostly that wasn't.
I don't know. You can contract a muscle while laughing. I wouldn't be able to hold that Dunkin' Donuts drink if I was laughing, because that thing's got a weigh, like a good,
seriously, it's got to have some heft to it.
Yeah, curl that. Yeah.
So listen, guys, it was a pleasure having both of you on. Let's do this again next. Well, you know what? What's next week?
Next week is the 22nd.
Yeah, not next week. It'll have to be the week after. Next week is the anniversary of the first kiss for me and my wife. We celebrate all these anniversaries.
Love that.
Why are you guys so fucking romantic? It's fucking disgusting.
Because it inspires people like me, Baz. That's why.
I love it. Well, congrats.
But if you guys wanted to do it a day earlier or something like that, maybe we could do it on the 21st or something like that.
I think we could. Yeah.
We'll talk. We'll get together. But thank you guys for joining. I do need to run. I got some business before I can go sit out in the sun and get some tan, because I'm going to be out in LA. I'm going to be out in LA in like a week and a half, and I can't just. I can't be this pale. So.
Well, you have a good one, then, man.
All right, guys. We'll talk soon.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. Bye.